tonight's match, and the pitch is in good condition. There's the Canadian lineup first of all, and Canada must win tonight, and two men in particular stand out as danger men for the visitors. Niall Thompson, who will lead the attack tonight, has scored 5 goals in 9 matches in his Olympic team record. And after a quiet game in Edmonton, he's particularly keen to make amends. And David Zauser is the other man, the 2-goal hero from Edmonton last week. He is hoping to add further goals to his tally tonight. The Australian lineup, or their good performance in Canada, is reflected in Eddie Thompson's lineup. No changes to his starting 11. Bristol City striker Paul Agostino is back to full fitness after a groin injury, but the twin strikers of Joe Spiteri and Mark Viduka is maintained despite this fact. Mark Babbage, the only other injury doubt, is past fit to take his place as a marker in defence alongside Hayden Fox, who at 18 years of age is the youngest player on the park. And the crowd here at Sydney Football Stadium is very large indeed, and there are a number of people still outside the ground waiting to get entry. As you can see by our camera shot there, the far side is almost full to capacity as we await the kickoff in this crucial Olympic qualifying match. Special welcome to visitors from Canada who are taking this coverage live. We welcome you to the program as the referee gets ready to start the match. He's from the United Arab Emirates, Mr. Ali Mood Bussam, and his 2 linesmen are from Kuwait as well. So a Middle Eastern feel about the match tonight. And so much at stake for both of these 2 sides. Joe Spiteri there just shaking hands with the referee. He scored Australia's 2nd goal in Edmonton a week ago. And we're off. Australia cannot qualify for their 3rd consecutive Olympic Games in conditions which are almost perfect for quality football. And with me is former Socceroo captain Johnny Warren. And John, just what are these players getting to at the moment?
Well, I think from Australia's perspective, they would be looking to try and knock Kenya out as quickly as possible. They're a little bit dirty on themselves. They feel they should have done the job in Edmonton. They didn't. To Canada's credit, they got something out of the match which I think neutral observers would believe that they didn't deserve. But they are the facts. There would be the memory of the World Cup game here where Canada really should have beaten Australia. 10 minutes to go, they were through. So a tremendous atmosphere, and we'll look forward to a game which is going to have everything. And the very interesting clash, as Bob Lenarduzzi saying before the kickoff, was that of Capuzzo to pick up Goran Lozanovski, and that is a very good tactic from the Canadian angle.
Duca beaten in the air. Franks for Canada. Interchange there. Good play from Australia. Viduka surging forward. He was nudged as he went to control the ball, and it just ran out of his reach. Canada managed to clear the ball away. And Frank Juric gets his first touch. This is his 13th game for the Olympic side. Without a doubt, but I'm sure everyone in Australia is delighted at that side of the match, and even more delighted with the victory, or perhaps a low-score draw, which will also be enough for the Australian team to qualify for Atlanta. Chris Franks for Canada, flicked on. Done by Lozanovski. Spiteri trying to get a challenge in, and he wins the ball. Here's Joe Spiteri. Tianta straight into a strong tackle there by the number 2 for Canada, Richard Hikita. They had a tremendous battle a week ago, and that was a blatant foul by Hikita. Tianta singled out by Bob Lenarduzzi, the Canadian coach, as the best player for Australia. Tiato involved again. Good cross in there. Viduka's there, the goalkeeper comes. Lozanovsky, good shot. Well, he did well to connect with the half volley and the slightly damp conditions here at the Sydney Football Stadium, and it was on target. The defenders were in the way, but it's a promising start for the Australians. The long throw. Back to Lozanovsky. Canada have a chance to clear their lines. Nice ball inside. Tiato intercepted. Ball came off his knee, so it'll be a throw into Canada. Bob Lenarduzzi, despite the fact that Canada must win tonight, was talking before the game about the way his team will approach the match. It'll be a cautious approach from their part. They can't afford to concede an early goal, whereas Australia will be going all out to score an early goal to get that psychological advantage. If they can manage that, it will be a really tough task for Canada to get back in this match. That's a nice switch in play. That's a foul by Canada get on with the game very quickly indeed. Franks, the left fullback, it's down the line. Mendes, Viduka, this ideal frame for a centre forward. Just helping him to hold the ball up there. Early moments. Tiato always looks positive when he is going forward with the ball. Lozanovsky. The tackle was the man brought into the side to mark him specifically, Tony Capasso.
To take the flanks away from him, to take Tiato or to control Tiato on the left and Lozanovsky on the right. Whether they are capable of doing that, only time will tell. But a good start from Australia, and good also that Viduka, who's such a key player for Australia, a very quiet game in Edmonton, is in good touch. The first few touches have been good, and that's always a positive sign for any striker.
Celebrate the championship victory on this side, the Melbourne Knights, a week ago from Canada. The Melbourne Knights players on the Australian side, Josh Materi, Danny Tiato as well. An Australian throw. 6.5 minutes gone. The Sydney Football Stadium. And Muscat, the captain, comes forward from the back. A nice layout from Spiteri to Tiato. Just a little tight there for the short passes that were attempted by the Australian players. They're staying forward. It's a long ball into the area. The goalkeeper comes out to gather that fairly comfortably. He had a tremendous match the other night, Paul Shepherd. Came into these two matches as the second string goalkeeper, but an injury to Larkin sees him with his opportunity. Kevin Muscat. Out Viduka, who flicked on, looking for Spiteri. Hikita in for Canada. Tiato has to go back, but he retains possession. Fox takes over down the line. looking for Joe Spiteri, who's such a willing chaser of passes that don't quite get to his feet. He's prepared to hassle defenders and work hard off the ball as Viduka's in the penalty area. Tiato, deep cross, very deep. It's the crossbar. Shepherd always seemed to have it covered, to his credit. But again, Viduka involved early, holding the ball up well. And that could have been awkward for the goalkeeper had it bounced back into play.
Yeah, it's a good sign for Australia that Viduka, again, much more mobile than we've seen him on recent occasions. The Oceanic qualifiers, also the game in Edmonton. And from Australia's perspective, that is quite vital to their success or otherwise tonight.
Lozanovski fouled from behind. The referee very quick with the whistle early on, as you would expect from an international referee, and that was a clear foul. Passo again not far away from Goran Lozanovski. Viduka, the natural target for the high ball into the penalty area. That's nice play from Canada. Still working their way forward. Awkward ball across, and Babic was there, and it was a good job he was, and the ball's still not clear. But tremendous play from the visitors down that right-hand side.
And the trend of the game, the pressure from Australia, the counter-attack, and a very good one from Canada. And just a little reminder in that move that we have a long way to go before the last finalist for Atlanta is decided. Probably just a nice little shake-up for Australia, that it's just going to be a little bit more difficult than certainly certain sections of the media in Australia think. It's good tactic there. There's Capasso again marking Lozanovski. And quite simply, from Australia's point of view, Lozanovski and Tiato are the providers of the crosses for Viduka and Spiteri. If they can be eliminated, Canada are on the way to making life even more difficult for Australia.
Just on the topic of complacency, who can forget 4 years ago when Australia drew 1-1 here with Holland and had to go to the Netherlands in the return leg. No one gave them a chance, but they managed a 2-2 draw there with 2 goals from Ned Zelic and went on to make the semi-finals of the Olympic Games in Barcelona. Canadian throw. Franks down the line. Fox with the early ball forward. Spiteri couldn't get it under control. Keita knocked it down the line. There's Oliver Heald. Ball forward again. That will run away for a goal kick. There's David Zauser, the goal scorer for Canada a week ago. Had 2 chances in the match, scored 2 goals. He's a real threat from midfield. But Canada already, John, have started their match tonight more strongly than they did a week ago in their home game.
I think the Australians, we were all surprised the way they played in Edmonton. Maybe the pressure was too much playing at home.
Viduka, still Viduka, waiting for support. It came from Tiato. Early ball in. Spiteri's at the back. Nodded it down, looking for his partner.
And that's a clear illustration of the point we were making earlier of the value of Tiato and Lozanovski. Once they get wide, they're both excellent crosses of the ball. And that's where the major threat for Canada will come tonight, from those 2 players. Just back to Canada's performance over there. I think a lot is made of playing at home and away, but sometimes the pressure at home is just too strong on the players, particularly remembering these boys are all under 23 years of age. And it was a disappointing Canada we saw there, and I would agree with that comment, Paul, that already Canada looking a vastly superior team to what we saw in Edmonton.
Well, they did feel that they disappointed last week. Comments from the coaching staff that the side can improve 75% on their performance.
I always felt playing-wise it was always better to play away from home, because it was the everyone against 11 of you. Had a great bonding effect, a great influence on the spirit within the team. It was you up against the world type of thing. And I think probably too much is made of home and away advantage.
Some defending here for the home side, with every Australian behind the ball. Franks with the free kick. Juric comes all the way. He got a hand to it. He's down, but he's got the ball. And some nervous moments there for the Australian coaching staff as Juric came out. He didn't gather it the first time. There was pressure from two Canadians at the back. Zauser was one, and Pizzolotto was the other. And it was a deep cross. Not a good, got in the way.
And not a good start for a goalkeeper. That's one of Frank's strengths, Juric's strengths, is the crosses. And it's a great need to for the first one to be taken properly, and very uncharacteristic of Juric on that occasion.
Fox in quickly and won the ball well. Viduka, Mendes to Fox. Will he try his luck? That's a good shot. The goalkeeper fumbled. What a save from Shepherd. Well, Australia were looking at their opening goal for just a moment. The shot from Hayden Fox came off the surface of the ground very quickly. Spiteri followed it up when he really must have thought he was going to score. But Hayden Fox, the 18-year-old forward, too hot for Shepherd to hold on to. But what a second save from the Canadian keeper. Corner to Australia. Oh, that's awkward, very awkward indeed, and they kept it out somehow. But Ante Moric with the in-swinger. Still Australia forward. Mendes now. Nice switch of play to Tiato. Good play from Australia here as the ball runs forward. Fox again! There it is, the first goal for Australia. Hayden Fox. And the crowd celebrate, and the Australian team celebration was far more subdued than a week ago. But Hayden Fox, the man who gave away the first goal against Canada a week ago, well, you couldn't make up for a mistake any better than that. And that, John, is a great finish for a centre-back.
Oh, and great lead-up play by Tiato, involved especially, and beautiful with the outside of the foot. Ajax Amsterdam training coming out there, just a beautiful finish. How to finish from that angle, don't hit it with the full instep, but the outside of the foot, bending it inside the far post, a great goal.
Lozanovsky switching play, and perhaps now that Australia had the opening goal, they can relax somewhat and start to play the natural passing game that the side has developed. But what a confidence booster for that man on the ball, Hayden Fox. Viduka took it brilliantly on the chest despite the close attention of his marker tonight, who is Pizzolotto, the Canadian number 4. But Viduka fired up for a big game. Netherlands working their way forward. Too hard to keep that one in. From Zaza. What a start. Hayden Fox, 15 minutes into the match. He said before the game this was the biggest game of his life. Playing in front of a home crowd. His parents are in the crowd. He's been playing in Holland with Ajax Amsterdam. You don't play for any bigger clubs than that in their youth team. But he set Australia on the road to Atlanta. Clears long, solid clearance. Viduka into the chest. Nice ball down. Mendes down the line to Spiteri.
Come on, son! Come on, son! Put your foot in there! Come on!
You can hear the encouragement coming from the coach, Bob Lenadusi. The side are up against it now. They must score twice to go through to Atlanta if the score stays at 1-0 to Australia. But John, just wondering if they were coming into the match with a cautious approach, certainly in the opening 20 minutes. They can't keep that up for much longer because they must score goals.
Well, their game plan now has to change. It was to eliminate Lozanovsky and Thiago, basically. And now, of course, it's not sufficient for them, having to score 2 goals, to play with 2 players who are basically defensive in attitude, and their job is to prevent the other side. They've got to have more creative players. So it's a real dilemma now for Lenadusi what he does to change immediately. The course, I think, would play into Australia's hands. I think it's probably something that may well be changed at half-time.
Well, Mendes looks in big trouble here, and you just saw Goran Lozanovsky look to the bench there and shake his head as if to say there's no chance of him continuing, and he waved his hand immediately when he went down, and he's holding his left knee. And Australia's playmaker in trouble. No substitution has been made so far. Eddie prepared to wait and see just what the damage is before he makes the change. Australia down to 10 men for a moment. But after a good start, that would be somewhat of a blow. Fox just clearing the ball away, and he's got a smile on his face. He is enjoying himself now, I'm sure. As the wave goes round the Sydney Football Stadium. And it looks like Australia will make a substitution for Gabriel Mendes. And Robert Ennis, I believe, will be the player that will come on in his place. Similar styles of player, John, both natural ball players.
Mendes, a big loss. He's such a key, particularly as the game wears on and more space becomes available. He's such a fine, skilled player that he can dominate proceedings. But as you say, Ennis coming on, who's had an outstanding season, Ennis, for his club, Sydney United. In the top 3 of the young players of the year, voted by fellow players. So his addition hopefully will not mean the loss of Mendes is so crucial for Australia.
.22 minutes gone here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Australia 1. Canada 0. It's Alito to Franks. Down the line. That ball will run out of play. Mendes now walking around the halfway line, but there's still to get Robert Ennis on, though Eddie Thompson is talking to him, so it looks like the substitution will take place. Meanwhile, Australia come forward with a good ball wide from Sakinis, and through the centre is Tiato. He went back rather than controlling the ball forward, but now he works his way forward. Spiteri will keep it in. Good deep cross. Tiata's there. And Canada conceded a corner when they didn't really have to. But another good move.
And involving Tiata. Again, arguably Australia's man of the match at this stage. He's everywhere, just causing so much havoc in midfield, able to beat his immediate opponent and create the advantage for Australia. Terrific game from Tiata.
Of all of his many strengths, and there are so many, heading is probably not up there with some of the others. But Lozanowski will take the end swinger. Awkward for the goalkeeper, who didn't take it well. While just before the corner was taken, Robert Ennis came on for Australia, so they're back to their full complement. But that was a great corner from Goran Lozanowski. Plenty of curve and plenty of pressure on the goalkeeper as well.
Robbie Ennis played in the World Youth Championship in Qatar for Australia. A fine midfield general type of player. Big things expected of him in this country. Normally plays in the centre of midfield. Probably will just fill in for Mendes on the right side of midfield on this occasion.
Franks down the line. Zauser won't keep it in. Gets a push in the back from Muscat for his trouble.
It's a difficult times for Canada now. They've come with a game plan of containing Australia and gradually playing themselves into the game. And of course now they've fallen the goal behind. That all has to be turned around somehow, and it's not as easy. Certainly not for the players out there at the moment. Maybe the coach can do it at a half time, but some structural changes have to be made, or personnel changes made. Now it's not just a matter of defending, it's a matter of scoring 2 goals.
Muscat slides in. There's Gabriel Mendes. He's very upset with his injury, as you can see there. Ross Aloisi, one of the substitutes, just consoling him. It's a good ball into the penalty area. Australia clear it, but not properly. Still Canada lurking just outside. Now Viduka is tackled quickly by Jason DeVos. And Mendes, who was so disappointed in the first match to be substituted after what was a quiet game by his standards, has had some rotten luck tonight as well. Tiato. Keeler for Canada. Coaching staff there. Eddie Thompson in the centre. Never seem to actually enjoy the games, the coaches, do they, John?
Well, there's not much to enjoy, I must say. A lot of pressure. Particularly at home, you're expected to win, to go through, and tough job.
Viduka, which you would expect, just out jumping Ikeda. Some Canadian flags in the crowd here. A small Canadian contingent making some noise. They really are drowned out by the overwhelming Australian crowd. That's well played by Ante Moric, who had to shepherd the ball out an awfully long way. Almost 27 minutes gone here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Australia have made a very promising start indeed if you've just joined us. The goal in the 15th minute by Hayden Fox means that they have a 1-0 advantage. Muscat clears long and high. Spiteri underneath it. Hansman's flag has gone up for something there. Play goes on. Kevin Muscat. Chips wide for Lozanowski, who waited for the ball to come to him to a certain extent there. The Canadian got in before him. That's an Australian throw. Craig Moore and Sean Cranny, the two Australian players who were unlucky enough to be injured for this campaign. I'm sure they're watching from their respective parts of the world. Well, perhaps not Craig Moore. He plays in Scotland for Glasgow Rangers. I can't see this match going live there, but I'm sure he's by the telephone at least. Hayden Fox is the player that came in for Craig Moore. He's made a tremendous impact on this Olympic side so far. Throw into Canada, who still look enthusiastic and hungry to get on with the game. There's plenty of time left for the Canadians to respond. The longer the match goes on without them scoring, the more desperate they must become, of course, which will only aid Australia's cause. Franks for Canada. It's a foul by Mark Viduka. Viduka back, helping out in defence, marking Big Nevio Pizzolito. It's gone short, and Australia defended that well. Some hesitancy from Canada around the free kick. Oh, that's a good pass, just one back for Canada. Tiato hoping to break away. Tiato again working across the field. He's a tremendous athlete, Danny Tiato, and he's involved here now as he's got behind the defence. Supporting runs are coming. Morich. Canada forced to concede the throw from D'Onofrio. The early cross in there, Viduka at the near post. Cleared away by DeVos. Half an hour gone here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Well intercepted by Lozanovsky. Spitteri's chasing, but Shepherd was halfway out to the ball as it came off the boot of Lozanovsky. Kennis slipped as he tried to get that cross in. The linesman pointed to the corner flag, but the referee said it was a goal kick. It's just a shot of the Australian crowd there. A Brazilian scarf in the centre of that. Brazil, of course, one of the big favourites for the gold medal at the Olympic Games. Tackle from behind there by Lozanovsky, despite the fact he played the ball. That was no longer allowed at any level of soccer. And you can hear Eddie Thompson asking the side to be a little bit more patient with their defending. Cleared away by Tiato. Spitteri will give chase. Australia push out, trying to play the Canadians offside. Fox is back there. Ball inside to Muscat. Long clearance now from Muscat. Now Australia in possession with Robert Ennis. Good switch of play, tremendous pass that. Tiato. Spitteri was the man who the pass was intended for, and now Australia have time to calm things down. Mark Babbage, the United defender, to Muscat. Spitteri, Lozanovsky, tremendous play. Muscat forward from the back. Viduka's in the centre. It won't reach him, I don't think. There's two Canadians were marking him. But it was a tremendous run forward from the sweeping position by Kevin Muscat. And Frustration there from Niall Thompson. We haven't seen a lot of Thompson, it has to be said, so far, but he does come with a big reputation as a finisher. 5 goals in 9 matches for the Olympic side. Nice play there from Capasso. It's a good ball through the centre to a man who's unmarked, but it was well worked back by Tiato. You just can't keep him out of the game, whether it's attacking or defending. He skips between two delightfully, picks up the return play. This is just brilliant play from Tiato. Spiteri now. Out wide is Ante Moric. The ball comes into the centre. Viduka's there. Still Moric now. Viduka. Still Mark Viduka. Good shot! Well, plenty of power from the big number 9. And just over the crossbar. But the build-up play, John, was really quite brilliant.
I was just about to say that more important than the shot and Viduka having his first shot on goal was the build-up play from Australia. There was a period there just before that, Canada just starting to get back in the game a little bit. But an excellent move. Tiato, who's a real inspiration in midfield. He's just the shining star at the moment for Australia. Started at their own penalty box and finished at the other one. Good stuff from the Aussies. They need more of that. They've got to put Canada back on the back foot a little bit. They're coming back into the game a little bit too close for comfort at this stage. But the Aussie defence is sound. Muscat at the back, a real skipper in many senses. He's a very key play for Australia now, not just his own play, but the organisation and communication. Enish getting some good touches out of midfield, and it's a good period for Australia now. Just to use the ball. There's no urgency about what's happening. They're in front. Let's just frustrate the Canadians a little bit by denying them possession.
Ennis, nice first touch. No Canadians putting any pressure on Kevin Muscat, so we'll go back to the goalkeeper. Out beyond the extent of the penalty area to clear forward for Canada. That's an Australian throw, and already Bob Lenarduzzi, the Canadian coach, is making a change. It's the number 6 Scott Macy, a midfielder, who's going off, and in his place is Martin Nash. Martin Nash, more of an attacking midfielder. Plays wide on the left-hand side. Healed. Macy just icing his thigh, which leads us to believe that he was injured, rather than any specific tactical change made by the Canadian coaching staff. Well, every one of these Australian players are hoping to play on the big stage, which is the Atlanta Olympic Games. It really is a ticket in their minds to a career in Europe, perhaps with a major club. No doubt there'll be many talent scouts watching the Olympic tournament. Already Australia have a number of overseas players in their squad, as opposed to Canada, which at present don't have any at all. So the experience that players like Mark Viduka and Gabriel Mendes, Hayden Fox are getting from their overseas clubs really is advantageous to the Australian side. Nice play from Canada. Franks makes his way forward down this left-hand side. It's the substitute Nash. Nice little intercept there from Fox. Spiteri, who was offside for a moment, and then he checked back to stay onside, but just as he made that movement back into the legal field of play, that's when the ball was played forward to him. Couldn't run onto it. But whenever Australia just pinch possession in this part of the field here, they look very dangerous indeed. Viduka to Enes. Tiato. Good defending there by Pizzolito. Cherry in the corner, goes past his man. There's no one really in the centre for Australia. They didn't really give him a chance there to beat the two markers and get the cross in. It was great play from Joe Spiteri. Lozanowski got a touch there. Still Goran Lozanowski. We haven't seen many of the crosses that we know he can provide. Won the ball back. That's the Canadian throw.
No, it's one area where Canada have succeeded. Lozanowski not able to get those fabulous crosses in, and that has been a successful tactic by Canada. From Australia, I think we have a slight problem in midfield, and that is that Sekenis and Enes are both central midfield players for their club. I notice there's not the width from Enes. He's drifting more and more into the middle. I wonder whether a switch on there would be advantageous to Australia. Play Enes in the middle and Sekenis on the right. I think it would suit Australia a lot better. Well, there's a lot of faith in the coaching camp of Sekenis playing in central midfield, but I think that we would get much more out of Enes by playing him in that role.
There is Robert Enes. Spiteri takes over, tries the shot, came off a defender, and just for a moment the goalkeeper was slightly wrong-footed. It was Spiteri who tried the shot, came off the knee of one of his defenders, and in the end Shepherd was able to gather the ball fairly easily. But we're under 5 minutes away from the half-time break. First goal tonight was always going to be vital. From an Australian perspective, they were hoping that one goal might perhaps finish off the Canadian challenge. Canada really were looking for there to be only one goal tonight. That to be theirs, and a 1-0 victory would have been enough for them to go to Atlanta. The script has changed. Robert Enes has the ball for Australia. Fox leaves it for Lozanowski. Australia did have one match in between the Oceania qualifiers in January and the match against Canada a week ago. They beat the United States Olympic team by 2-0. Of course, the USA team will be automatic qualifiers for the Atlanta Olympics. So that was a very good result for Australia there. Canada, on the other hand, have had 11 warm-up matches for the Olympic qualifying series. A tremendous program to try and qualify for the Olympics. They only won 2 of those 11 matches, though. Australia come forward again. And here's Tiato, the man who's everywhere. That's a good cross. The goalkeeper grabbed it and he dropped it. And Spiteri was hoping to pick up the pieces. And still Australia forward with Lozanowski. Deep cross, no one at the back for Australia. And a corner conceded by D'Onofrio.
And I think the first cross from Lozanovsky.
That was run from Tiato, the goalkeeper. Well, it appeared to be a simple save, but Hikita had to help him out. And then Lozanovsky.
This is why he's so rated with the cross. There's hardly any room to move. Look at the bend on this.
And we'll see it again from this corner as Lozanovsky curls one into the near post. Another corner. Patiently played by Mark Viduka there. He had two defenders behind him. He knew there was no room to manoeuvre. And one of the Canadians just stuck a foot in and conceded the corner, which Lozanovsky will take again. At the near post is the big centre-back, Mark Babbage, the number 4 there. Hoping for a flick on. Shepherd comes, and this time he takes it first time. This is a few moments earlier when Tiato got the first dangerous cross in and Shepherd looked very shaky. Akita close by. Nice play from Akita, the captain. Good turn from Capasso, who's moved over to the right-hand side now. Healed. That's in, cleared away by Muscat. Franks for Canada. That's nice play from Lozanovsky. So quick in the tackle as well as quick in the cross as well. Australia now must really just keep the Canadians out until the half-time whistle. We're into time added on in this first half. Cleared away by Lozanovsky, who stays down after the clearance. Not sure whether there was anything on after the ball was cleared away there. He's back on his feet now. Centre, struck to Juric, awkward bounce in front of him with this moist surface at the Sydney Football Stadium. Looks fairly relaxed though, you have to say, which is always a good sign for a goalkeeper. Viduka, just pushing from Mark Viduka, and that's a free kick to the Canadian defence. But it came off his shoulder. Viduka flicks on, no one supporting the head of the ball from Mark Viduka. And Australia content to wait till the half-time whistle comes, and it has come now from the referee from the United Arab Emirates. And Hayden Fox made up for a dreadful error last week with a superb goal this week, with the outside of the right foot after 15 minutes. And look at the smile on the 18-year-old, the youngest player in the side. He opened the scoring for Australia and really set the tone for the match and enabled this Australian side to go about the business of qualifying for Atlanta. It hasn't been an easy first half for the Australians. Canada, to their part, have much improved on their performance in Edmonton a week ago and will test Australia in the remaining 45 minutes that there are in this match. But for the time being, at half-time here at the Sydney Football Stadium, it's Australia 1, Canada 0.
Look dangerous, but they haven't pushed enough men forward to ever worry us. Kevin Muscat's been doing a great job marshalling the defence.
Oh, most certainly. As you said earlier on, they've only got one particular player up front, and they can't afford to play like that. They have to come out with at least another striker and also have two wingers on either end, actually trying to get behind the Australian defence.
As we see the Aussie guys run out behind us here, obviously the intensity in the first half was fantastic. Good discipline as well. Only a few free kicks. Paducah gave one free kick away close to goal, but otherwise very good professional performance.
Oh, most certainly. And in this particular type of game, you can't afford to make mistakes. You've got to keep control of the ball.
Okay, Charlie, thanks for those comments. Let's now go back to our commentators, Paul Williams and Johnny Warren.
Thanks, Kyle. And it's Canada who will be starting the second half. And we're yet to establish whether they've made any changes to the side that finished the first half. Australia have played in 3 previous Olympic finals. In 1956, when Melbourne were the hosts, they played and made the quarterfinals. In 1988, they went to Seoul and made the quarterfinals. And in 1992, they went to Barcelona and made the semi-finals. So, provided they can make the big show, they always put on a good performance. And they're 45 minutes away from qualifying for their 3rd consecutive finals. And should they qualify for Atlanta, they'll be grouped with Spain, Saudi Arabia and France, playing their games in Miami and Orlando. The Olympic soccer tournament actually begins before the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games itself on July the 19th. That's a corner to Canada, who need to make a good early impact on this second half if they're to have any chance of responding to the 1-0 scoreline that they're up against here. In-swinger will be taken by Oliver Heald, who plays for the Vancouver 86ers. 5 of this Canadian side play for that particular club. Spiteri gets a touch to Zakenis, who's fouled by Oliver Heald. And we haven't seen a yellow card tonight until now. Well played by Peter Zakenis. And John, looking at the Australian scenario here, how do you think Eddie Thompson will approach the second half? Will he continue to push for number 2, or will he sit back and perhaps go for the breakaway goal as Canada try and push forward?
No, I think more of the same. I think they would be foolish to sit back and go counter-attack. Their natural style is to go at the opponent. They've had success at it. They've probably been on balance more likely to score than Canada. So more of the same to put the issue beyond doubt. I think the long ball and the high ball has got to be taken out of our game a little bit, because the Canadians have dominated in the air at the back, and the Paducah-Spiteri partnership hasn't been so fluent or as effective as we'd have hoped. But more of the same, really. The message would be we're 45 minutes away from qualifying. Let's get the second and put the result beyond doubt.
Just looking at options for Eddie Thompson in that forward position. Paul Agostino, the Bristol City striker. Many expected him to start the match tonight. Just had news on the injury to Gabriel Mendes. A cruciate ligament is the damage for him, and should Australia qualify for the Olympic Games, he will not be able to participate in the tournament. And that is an absolute tragedy for a very gifted player.
A real tragedy. That operation which I was lucky or unlucky enough to have, the first one in Australia back in 1971, 15 months out of the game for me. It's not as long nowadays, and techniques haven't improved, but it's a real blow to Chichi. Fear of all players, probably the most serious injury, certainly leg injury, that players can suffer.
Mendes plays for Austrian club Admira Wacker. He's probably very disappointed with that news, I'm sure. One more so, though, than Mendes himself. Still, Australia decide to come forward. Tiato chases a ball that he had no right to reach, and he slid in there. And the free kick looks to have gone Australia's way. And there's the handball, and it's a good decision by the referee, because Tiato did well to slide in and win the ball, and Pizzolitto used his hand to stop Tiato from moving away with it, and it's a free kick for Australia in a dangerous position. Paducah's in the centre, Fox is at the back post as well, curled in, but cleared away. Zauser holding play up, nice ball inside to Heel. David Zauser, one of 3 players who play for Montreal Impact. 40 minutes to go for Australia. Borich concedes a throw with some casual play, and Canada come forward. Muscat, who's always prepared to come away from his central role to clear the danger on the flanks. Plenty forward for Canada, as Martin Nash has the long throw. Cleared away. Shot, plenty of power, but not enough accuracy from Nevio Pizzolitto. In action at both ends of the park. Cleared away by Fox. Pizzolitto with the half volley. By Tiato. Canada again. They started this half as strongly as they left off in the first. They are getting more and more desperate, of course, as the match goes on. Australia can afford to sit back. Canada requiring 2 goals to salvage a result at this match. Ball off the centre for Paducah. It's Kennis. Throw it to Australia. Eight of the starting 11 for Australia have played for the full Australian team. The Olympic tournament, of course, is an under-23 tournament. The finals at Atlanta. Each country is allowed to use 3 overage players to bolster their squad. Terry did very well to bring that down there. And just looking at the overage player scenario, John, we heard during the week that Ed Thompson won't be taking Mark Bosnich. He's happy with Frank Jurich in goal. So it opens up for 3 outfield players as potential overage players.
And Paul Oakland probably out of that.
Paducah turning, still in possession, but Hikita back for his country and clearing his lines.
But Ocon just recovering from a knee operation subject of a transfer from Club Bruges to a leading Italian club. So I think he will be out. The likes of Zelic, Aurelio Vidmar, talk of Steve Corica. Certainly I would think Aurelio Vidmar, probably Zelic. With the other one, if Bosnich is out, up for grabs. But quite a few countries not going to use overage players, particularly some of the European countries, significantly France and Spain, who will be in the group with either Canada or Australia. The only South American country, Brazil, will use 3 overage players, probably Bebeto, Andre Cruz and Aldair.
Well, that ball looked to have crossed the line, but Canada will continue on here, healed in possession. Juric will take it comfortably in the end, but so often in that situation you see a goal go in when some casual defending just lets the opposition in, and they all appealed for it. Canada played on, healed, just laid it off, but the cross was easy for Frank Juric, and it did finally come in. But down at the other end, Spiteri goes down in the penalty area. Well, was that in the penalty area or not? And the referee has adjudged that it wasn't, and he's given a yellow card. And that also is a bone of contention, because surely Spiteri was through in a goal-scoring opportunity, John, and that should have been a red card.
Well, I think it was outside, just outside the box, but it is a red card. The interpretation of referees on these situations, that is a FIFA directive. So surely denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. I do agree with the referee. I think it was just outside.
Well, Spiteri's still down looking to get some treatment. Paul Agostino there just behind Eddie Thompson. Looks like he's stripped and ready to come on, and you just wonder whether that was part of the plan before Spiteri went down. But that man there, Nevio Pizzolitto, is very lucky to still be on the park. He had to put a challenge in Joe Spiteri, and as we've seen on the replay, the referee was quite correct. It was outside the penalty area, and Spiteri goes behind the goal for treatment. Agostino waits to come on. Will he be needed? We'll decide that shortly. And meanwhile, Australia have a free kick just outside the penalty area. We haven't seen a lot of Australian set pieces from free kicks. As the ball gets marched back to the appropriate distance. And who's over the ball there? We've got Tiato, Muscat, Viduka's there. Lozanowski, we know, can curl a ball. He's got a tremendous long-range shot. Everyone back for Canada. And Spiteri up behind the goal, watching this free kick with interest, I'm sure. Viduka, Lozanowski, yes! The second for Australia. The crowd erupts and the players celebrate because they know that barring something exceptional from the Canadians, that they will be going to the Olympic Games. And Lozanowski, who scored the first against Canada in Edmonton, has scored the second here. And Spiteri, just in the front of your shot there, was watching from off the ground. And I think it was Muscat was standing straight in front of the goalkeeper, obscuring his vision in an onside position. So that's great play from the captain. Canada trying to respond, but it was an easy save for Juric as the shot came in from Carmen D'Onofrio. And Bob Lenarduzzi with his chin in his hand, has got to do something awfully clever from this situation to see his side make the trip south of the border to the United States in a month's time. Just looking down at the Canadian bench, John, there's 3 or 4 players down there that are peeling their gear off to get involved in the match. It's desperation stuff for the Canadians now.
Desperation times, but I think it's beyond them now. I don't think there's any way they can pull back 3 goals on what we've seen this evening. You can talk to early, of course, but it is Australia's game. A wonderful free kick, something a little bit different. The role of Muscat and Viduka, and of course the strike from Lozanovsky. But now's the time. You were asking earlier whether Australia should close up. I mean, now is the time not to take any unnecessary risks. Canada have to open up. As they open up, of course, the more and more opportunities will be coming Australia's way, you feel.
One by Babbage in the air. Canada forward. Nice little run this from Nash, who's brought down by the challenge from Danny Tiato. No one really setting up a wall for Australia. Juric now gets a couple of players in there. Spiteri has to come back and become the third, as Bob Lenarduzzi makes a change. And somewhat surprisingly, it's David Zauser who's coming off, and Troy Wood will take his place. Well, he's now a player who's well known in Australia, David Zauser, after those 2 goals in Edmonton. He'll play no further part in this match, though, as Australia push up very quickly indeed. Morich. Long ball forward. Nice ball to Spiteri. Nikita bundled off the ball by an aggressive Spiteri. He's a fiery customer. And it was his surging run through the centre when he was brought down that resulted in Australia's 2nd goal. Fox, long, right through the centre. He's looked very solid tonight at the heart of the Australian defence, Hayden Fox. And Spiteri a mile offside as he makes his way back after trying to close down the goalkeeper. The referee just lets the Canadian keeper know that play will be continuing. Babbage touches it down. Lozanovsky, a little flick up and a high clearance. Some party pieces perhaps from the Australians. As we move into the last half an hour of the match. The players free on the left. Spiteri through the centre. That's who the pass was aimed for. But it was Pizzolito who intercepted and then gave the ball away. And the hopes that those 2 men had of Canada qualifying for Atlanta are slowly slipping further and further away. If you've just joined us, it's tremendous news from an Australian perspective anyway. The score is 2-0. Got around 27 minutes remaining in the second half here at the Sydney Football Stadium, and this very large crowd indeed is delighted with the current situation. Nice switch of play from Oliver Heald. Long ball from Nash. Muscat wins it in the air. Lozanowski comes inside. Out wide is Morich. Spiteri keeps it in. And Spiteri's fouled there quite plainly. And he's bundled off the ball. And this is unnecessary from Australia's point of view. And they must be careful here because the match is well and truly within their grasp. And the referee, who it has to be said was fairly quick to get over and calm the situation down, it just looked like boiling over for a second. And it was Spiteri who just kept the ball in play there. And there was a bit of a wrestle going on with D'Onofrio. Two young men, eager and competitive. And it was after that little push and shove. And it's a yellow card to Tiato and a yellow card to D'Onofrio. And Spiteri wisely moved away from the referee. But it hasn't been a nasty game by any stretch, John, and you...
No, and there's one way that we can lose it is by having someone sent off now. Even though Australia didn't instigate that incident, they did retaliate. But one way that we could throw it away is by having a man sent off at this stage. I think Australia's just got to settle down a little bit. That's a bad challenge as well by Australia. They've just got to settle down, put the ball down and play their skilled game that they can. They're starting to get involved in the direct sort of play that Canada are employing, and also the tension. They're reacting to the incidents that are coming up, and that is not on for Australia. Just keep the mouth shut, put the ball on the ground and play. This game's theirs. They've already got a foot there. That's a late challenge. It's not a nasty challenge, but enough to, in this environment, to spark the tension just a little bit more. That's late.
It was such a comfortable save for the goalkeeper. Enes really shouldn't have been challenging in there, but it's a yellow card for him. Lozanowski. That's brilliant control from the Duca with the outside of the foot. And now Canada, can they respond here? Well, he was unmarked. And Niall Thompson, who we haven't seen a lot of in the two matches so far, had probably his best opening of the match tonight. It was good play from Nash to switch the ball across to Thompson. Fox had just lost track of where his opponent was. And the shot really didn't test the goalkeeper, but it might be a wrap across the knuckles for Australia with some casual defending. And the attendance tonight has been announced. It's 25,809 supporters of Australian soccer here.
And you wonder, Paul, how many sports at under 23 level could attract a crowd of that proportion?
There wouldn't be many, and as we're just talking about the crowd attendance, Eddie Thompson has taken Joe Spiteri off and replaced him with Paul Agostino. Agostino, of course, a full-time professional with Bristol City in England, and not a bad substitute to have.
And I think it's a good substitution by Eddie because Joe is a very fiery type of guy. He just plays with the heart. Perhaps thinks afterwards sometimes he's a fine player, but he is prone to attract the yellow or red card, and that is one of the only ways you can see Australia missing out here now, that if they do have a player sent off.
It's a good opportunity too for us to have a look at the likes of Paul Agostino. He left Australia at 16 years of age after scoring something like a goal a game for a dozen or so games for West Adelaide a number of years ago. He was an outstanding prospect. And he's back in the country now. There's his first touch. And a disappointing one for a player who would love to make a big impact tonight, I'm sure. Who'll forget that goal he scored against Uruguay in 1993, that header at the far post.
And had a fabulous Under-17 World Cup in Italy, in Montecatini in 1991. Prolific scoring for Australia, where they reached the quarterfinals, beaten by Argentina.
Season just finished. Paul Agostino scored 12 goals for Bristol City. It's a good return in a very competitive league as Viduka stretches it out wide for Lozanowski. Goes past one. Good response though. Still Lozanowski. This is brilliant play. Quality cross required here. It's very deep. Tiato was lurking at the back, but it was Agostino, the man who's so lethal in the air, who we were hoping to see on the end of the cross. Still Australia forward. Hikida concedes the corner.
This is why we rate Lozanowski so highly with the crosses, not just the delivery. Look at the curve on it, beautifully weighted in.
Well, it took the goalkeeper out brilliantly, and if not for Pizzolitto getting his head on the ball there, Agostino would have made it 3 for Australia, I'm sure. Corner taken by Ennis. Shepherd. That's very solid on that particular cross. He needs to get the ball upfield quickly. We're 26 minutes into the second half. It's Australia by 2 goals to 0. Ball goes out. Australian throw. Well, Australia's first ever Olympic game was back in 1956 when they played Japan in the Melbourne Olympics, and they had a 2-0 win on that occasion. This now is their 36th Olympic match, and the score is 2-0. For a third, perhaps. A little chip in there. Agostino sliding through the centre. Well, he's looked a very dangerous customer already in just the 5 minutes or so that he's been on. He couldn't quite get on the end of that one. But the positioning and the pace to get to that position was there for all to see. The goalkeeper got a touch as that ball went through, as we saw on the replay. That should have been a corner to Australia. But Canada make another change. And Linus Road will come on. And it's the number 16, Chris Franks, who makes way for him.
Just on that crowd, Paul, 25,982 at the Canada-Australia World Cup game on this ground, and the Holland Olympic qualifier for 92 played here, 18,300. So terrific response from the Sydney public to the match tonight, which thankfully kept alive with that 2-2 in Edmonton, a game most of us here felt that Australia should have won more comfortably.
Signs of growing confidence within the ranks of the Australian players.
Well, in the normal proceedings, with Canada having to risk a little bit more and open up a little bit more, you would anticipate that the more chances as the game progresses will fall Australia's way.
Agostino would have been very disappointed not to start the match tonight. He played against the USA in the warm-up match before the Edmonton game. And then he strained his groin muscle. Joe Spiteri, it was said, took his place in the starting 11, though it was debatable just who would be the starting pair. And Agostino now a chance to work his way into that starting position. Just under half an hour gone here in the second half. Canada require 3 goals in the last 15 minutes. Throw from Nash. 3 Australians around the Canadian player. Juric, easy save. Hasn't had a lot to do tonight, Frank Juric, which I'm sure Eddie Thompson is quite happy about. One of the reasons that it's likely that Bosnich or Zelko Kalats, another one of our outstanding overseas goalkeepers, won't make the trip to Atlanta is the fact that Frank Juric is in such good form.
Well, it's a huge compliment to Frank, isn't it? The likes of Bosnich.
Current goalkeeper
Kalats.
of the year.
And so many Aussie goalkeepers based in Britain and Europe, but he's not going to call in an overage player for that position.
Free kick taken quickly by Canada, who must continue to press forward in search of a goal that might give them some encouragement. Still no smiles from the coaching staff. Thompson, Les Scheinflug and Raul Blanco. As the crowd start to enjoy themselves, and they enjoy the scoreline as well, because the score shows that Australia are leading by 2 goals. And they flicked on there. Agostino ran through the centre, just looking over his shoulder as to where Viduka had put the ball. Nods an agreement to a striking partner, as if to say, more of that will do very nicely. Zamoski forced to do some defending down that right-hand side. Nice little bit of play, working his way through the centre. One of the substitutes, I think that's the number 7, Lucas Rode, trying to get on the end of it for Canada. And now Australia have a chance to slow things down. A long ball from Fox. Tiato Now Agostino. Viduka, always the man to slow the game down. Nice little shimmy from him, still Viduka. Tiato down to Sakinis. Ennis won the ball fairly. There was a strong tackle from the back. And just for a moment there I thought the referee was reaching for a card, which would be disastrous for Ennis because he's already been booked, but he clearly played the ball. Kick for a foul on Lozanowski. Frustration for Niall Thompson, plays for Montreal Impact. Frustration for all the Canadians with the score, I'm sure, but they have improved so much on tonight's performance compared to the opening game in Edmonton that they hold their heads high after the match. Tiato goes through the centre. Still Tiato just couldn't turn quickly enough or change direction quickly enough to get onto the return pass from Agostino.
Jason! Jason! Look to goal! Next chance, next chance!
Morich with the throw. No real hurry to get on with the game as you would expect. Tiato flicks on. Viduka. It's a tackle from behind. Still Viduka in possession. Don't know how. He lost it under his feet a couple of times there, but recovered. Sakinis through the centre. Out wide is Lozanowski. Goes back to Fox. Ennis. Agostino, Muscat forward, Viduka, plenty of players wide on the left. Morich now involved. Tiato, tremendous move this from Australia. The ball pulled back. Viduka! An absolutely brilliant goal from Australia.
That is a great goal by any standards. Beautiful build-up from the back, switching a play, and excellent finish from Viduka. A great goal.
Well, he's played so well tonight, the big number 9. He's deserved a goal. He's had few chances to score in these two matches, and he finally gets one, and it wasn't an easy one. Back towards goal. The turn and shot and the accuracy was there for all to see. The quality of this man who will lead Australia's attack at the Atlanta Olympics in one movement, and it's in the back of the net, and that's 3 for Australia. But I lost track of how many passes were involved in that build-up, John, but there must have been at least a dozen with 5 or 6 Australians also playing
super finish, but super move. I mean, that is the quality of football Australia is capable of. They've probably lost their way in some respects in the second half, but that's what they're capable of. That's what they should be doing all the time. A great goal. And terrific to see Mark get it. A little bit of stick for him for his performances at home in recent times, but he's quite simply, he's a big match player, a big occasion, and when it's on, he produces as he has done tonight.
Fox with that header into the space. Viduka turning quickly, but not as quickly as Pizzolitto, his marker tonight. But Muscat, who was involved in that previous goal, again coming forward from the back. Agostino's free on the left. Viduka and Lozanowski, good shot straight at the goalkeeper. In fact, it was Robbie Ennis who fired one in there. plenty of power. And still Australia forward. Muscat now. And that should run for a corner. But it smiles all around for the Australian players as they can really now relax and enjoy themselves. Well, Lozanowski signing some autographs. He has well and truly played his part in Australia's trip to Atlanta. Luke Casserly getting a run as a substitute for Lozanowski. That is another corner, without a doubt. Swinger, free header. Oh, that's a fourth. And Paul Agostino, the substitute, the man whose aerial prowess we've just been talking about, scores a header at the far post to make it 4-0 for Australia. And he is delighted to come back to his home country and score such a fine, fine goal. It was Babbage who got a touch at the near post, Agostino at the far post. It's a routine training ground goal, this one. Mark Babbage, the defender at the front. Canada really half-hearted in their defending, and you can't really blame them for that. They know the match is beyond them. But it doesn't stop Agostino from celebrating in style. 4-0. A brilliant run forward from Muscat, the captain. He's got men on the right, he's got men on the left, he goes on his own, and that is 5. Stunning stuff from Kevin Muscat. Well, some of the runs that he's made from defence tonight to join in midfield have been a delight to watch, but this time he went further. He went right up to the forward line. He had options to the right and to the left. And when you're 4-0 up, you really do fancy your chances. There were 2 defenders still to beat. And he beat them with that shot there, and the goalkeeper with a little bit of help from the post.
A real libero performance from Kevin tonight. He's done so much in attack, joining the attack. This ball was on to push it wide, but he just felt in the mood to have a go himself, such as he's touched tonight. We said a great goal. They've all been great goals when you look back at them. Terrific stuff from the Aussies. And Kevin among the best performance here tonight, and a fitting finish for him. This is great stuff. I think it's safe to talk about the Olympics now, isn't it? But it's going to be a fabulous occasion for them. Australia in with Spain, France. Spain, of course, the winners in '92. France in '84. Saudi Arabia in their group in Miami and Orlando. When we look at some of the other finalists, Mexico, they beat Canada 1-0 in the qualifying matches. So comparative scores, giving Australia a better chance than some of the other qualifiers. But it's time for the exhibition stuff now. Australia on a roll. They'll just enjoy these final minutes and could possibly add another goal or 2. Everyone wants the ball, everyone wants to score. Extra legs now, as opposed to Canada, who know really it is all over. And no doubt Sydney 2000 organisers delighted with this crowd tonight, Paul, because football, or soccer as we call it, but football in the rest of the world, the biggest drawing spectator sport at all Olympics. I think it's something like 36% of all paying spectators in the history of Olympics have been to football tournament. And with Australia to host here, or Sydney to host in 2000, I'm sure it's going to be the biggest spectator sport at the Sydney Olympics as well.
Agostino looking for a second. Still Agostino. He's gone down. No penalty from the referee.
Well, I think that was a kind decision. I felt that was certainly a foul. It's a question whether it was inside or not.
Here he goes through the centre. Well, that's a clear penalty in my mind.
It is a penalty. It is a penalty and a red, but I think that is probably out of the spirit of things at this stage. It is all over.
Well, he's certainly looked very lively since he's been on, John Agostino, hasn't he? And
he had a huge influence. I mean, what a nice choice it now makes for the coaches going into the Olympics with Spiteri or Agostino or Viduka or Craig Moore to come back in.
Corica, Aurelio Vidmar. Innocent space. Casserly, the substitute, plays for Marconi Fairfield. Fox to Morich. Viduka turning his man brilliantly, using that big body and skillfully as well. This is tremendous play from Viduka. He was being fouled all the time. Another shot just over the bar. Well, Viduka did so well to create the opening for Agostino, but the quality of the first-time shot was there for all to see. You just can't push this man off the ball. He's just too strong. And Agostino just over the bar. Well, you can book your ticket for Atlanta because the Australian soccer team will be there. They've thumped Canada tonight to emphatically qualify for the final stages of the Atlanta Olympics. It was champagne stuff in the second half from the Australians after Canada really did make a very, very good game of it up until the 57th minute when Australia scored their second goal from the free kick by Lozanowski. That really killed off the challenge of the Canadians. But let's not forget the start. Hayden Fox in the centre there being congratulated, the 18-year-old. He opened the scoring for Australia after 15 minutes. Viduka added the third after 80. Agostino and Muscat, two more before the end of the match. And look at the emotions there for the player. Chichi Mendes, you must feel for him. He won't be going to Atlanta because of that injury to his cruciate ligaments. Just a disaster for such a talented player. But the rest of the side will be going as they celebrate in the centre of the park, the biggest game of their lives, and they've responded with one of the most emphatic victories for Australia that I've seen in international soccer. 25,000 people at the Sydney Football Stadium to share in the glory. And finally the players can relax and enjoy the moment. There's around 7 weeks before the opening match in the tournament, where Australia will do battle against Spain and France and the Saudis to further their cause for Olympic gold. The final score here at the Sydney Football Stadium: Australia 5, Canada 0, and Kyle Patterson is with Charlie Yankos and Eddie Thompson.
Okay, thanks very much, Paul. Fantastic scenes of jubilation here on the sideline. I'll grab a quick word from Eddie Thompson. Eddie, congratulations. You've done the job. The boys are off to Atlanta.
Yeah, I was happy with the performance. First half we were so nervous. We were kicking long balls, giving the ball away. We were doing everything wrong. But once the second goal, when they relaxed the guys, and they were having a bit of fun the last 20 minutes.
And a word about this Sydney crowd, fantastic. Nearly 26,000 people. They were chanting Aussie, Aussie before a ball was kicked.
Yeah, fantastic. We can't thank them enough. They got behind the lads because this is one game that we needed them, because up to half time it was a pretty even game, and the crowd, like, this is a goalie advantage for sure.
Okay, Charlie Yankos, you were in the quarterfinals in Seoul in '88, Eddie and the boys in the semis in '92. How do you rate this team?
Oh, this is absolutely magnificent team. I think if you just have a look at the character of them, especially in that second half, I mean, they're destined for bigger and better things. Hopefully they can go a little bit further than the last one.
Obviously, Danny Tiato, man of the match by a mile. He was fantastic.
He just never stops, the guy. He just runs and runs and runs, takes people on. He's got the heart of a lion, Danny. He's a great wee player, great competitor, and you need people like that, because we were pretty flat in the first half, and we needed people like Danny to an example for the rest of the players. And Matt Viduka as well. He answered his critics tonight. I thought he was magnificent.
Amid all this jubilation, though, a heartbreaking story unfolding, we believe, that Chichi Mendes, another bad knee injury, and maybe there is not enough time for him to recover before Atlanta.
Well, he was starting to look good before he got injured. He was the one guy that was spraying the ball about, and we missed him badly, Chichi. And well, we just hope and pray that he's okay, because he's a great wee guy. He's a top player as well.
But Charlie, I think the Flurries tonight, what a way to go to a championship with a 5-0 result under your belt.
Well, most certainly, it's magnificent. You know, it's all about form. It's not going to be an easy tournament by any means. But the fact that the boys have gelled together, it wasn't easy to come here and play after that 2-2 result away at Canada, and they did exceptionally well.
And Eddie, the big question now, 3 overage players can be brought into the squad.
Available, Eddie.
Eddie, Charlie Yankos is available, but have you got your mind made up?
No, we'll make up. We'll sit down on Tuesday, Les, Marcel and Ral, and we'll make up our mind. I mean, I said before, really a bit more. We're certainly looking for utility players, the guys that can play 1 or 2 positions, but I'm not too sure how 1 or 2 of the guys will go in the competition. So, I mean, the really Vidmars, the Coricas, these types of guys would be invaluable. Okay, Eddie Thompson, congratulations again on behalf of all Australian soccer fans. Take those boys to Atlanta and bring back some gold. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, Eddie Thompson, the successful coach of the Australian team. Charlie Yankos, just to sum up, what a fantastic night. This is what Aussie soccer's all about, the national team, the green and gold. Fantastic support here tonight, and some fantastic football.
Oh, most certainly, Kyle. But I think the boys themselves don't really realise what the Olympics are about. You know, when they go to Atlanta, when they start getting involved with all the other athletes, and they start playing that particular tournament, this jubilation's magnificent, but to be a part of that will be sensational. I think they've got a lot to look forward to.
Absolutely, as the guys take the final applause from this huge crowd here at the Sydney Football Stadium, confirming that great news. Australia tonight, 5-0 winners, as the mayhem of the Sydney Football Stadium. Everyone wants to be on camera tonight. 5-0 winners, Australia. They win the tie 7-2, a massive 7-2 on aggregate. They're going to Atlanta as one of 16 finalists at the Atlanta Olympics soccer tournament. Remember, more great soccer coming up on SBS next Saturday evening at 10:25. The commencement of our coverage, our month-long coverage of Euro 96, the European Soccer Championships, at 10:25, coming to you live from London with Les Murray and Johnny Warren and all the team. 23 games in the next little period, 31 games in 23 days. Plenty of football coming up, so don't miss that. Euro 96 on SBS. Please check your TV guides for all that great action. But for now, from the Sydney Football Stadium, I'm Kyle Patterson. Happy to leave you with some great scenes of jubilation here. Australia, the Olyroos on the way to Atlanta. From the Sydney Football Stadium, good night.